Well, hello guys, and welcome to another edition of Wrestling Man's Retro Reviews. This is the place for all your Coliseum video reviews. Now, of course, the purpose of this is to try to convince you, the viewing audience, if you're looking for a specific Coliseum video that you may want to put in your home library, I do to tell you if you should get it or not get it. Hope you enjoy this episode. Now, this week, or not this week, but this time, we had a very close voting. I mean, we had really close. And it really came down to literally the final vote to decide which video it would be. So, for this retro review, I am going to be reviewing the best of the WWF Volume 7. Now, this cassette is hosted by Mean Gene Okerlund, and we really do have a good lineup of matches and highlights that you're going to hear about on this review. So let's get started. We start the videotape off with Terry Funk against Pedro Morales, two former heavyweight champions going at each other in the Boston Garden. Now, this match is actually a lot better than I had anticipated. It starts off with Terry Funk throwing punches at Pedro Morales, and then Morales comes back punching at Terry Funk, and this goes all over the place. Goes on the floor, back in the ring, goes to the floor. Terry Funk at one point goes after Gorilla Monsoon. They use the wooden steps. It's a really crazy match, but it's a fun match to watch, and it ends when Terry Funk uses the megaphone to hit Pedro Morales over the head, knocking him out cold, thus getting the 3 count and the victory. Then we go to Madison Square Garden, where Hulk Hogan once again defends the World Wrestling Federation title against Macho Man Randy Savage. If you remember back on my review of Best of the WWF Volume 6, it was Randy Savage that defeated Hulk Hogan via countout to win but not keep the belt, as Hogan would retain it. Now, this match starts off with Savage attacking Hogan in the ring, even at one point using the belt on multiple occasions to attack Hogan. Referee does nothing to stop it or disqualify him. However, Elizabeth does get involved in this match in many incidents. She gets on the apron the first time around to tell something to Randy Savage, but Savage wouldn't listen. Hogan comes back, he goes after Savage. As they go to the outside, Hogan picks up Savage and rams him into the steel post, and Savage bleeds a lot in this match. I mean, a lot in it. They come back in the ring, Hogan beats up Savage more. Elizabeth tries to stop it, but Hogan gives her or blows her a kiss, and then Savage gets a little bit of the advantage back, hits a flying elbow on Hogan, only gets about a 1.5 count as Hogan comes back. Hogan and Savage go to the floor. Hogan's going to ram Savage into the post again, but Elizabeth stands in front of the post, stopping Hogan. Then Hogan turns around. He's going to ram him to the other post, but Elizabeth stops him. Savage gets off of Hogan's shoulders, pushes Hogan into the post. Savage gets back into the ring before the 10 count, and Randy Savage wins again via countout. After the match, Hogan, realizing what happened, went a little bit berserk and went after Savage, putting the bear hug on, and it took a couple men to break that up, and then Savage got a cheap shot in before he left the ring. And Hogan was explaining to the referee while the ring announcer, who won the match, and I love this. Hogan was like, saying Elizabeth got involved. He did this like 2-3 times. He's like, it was pretty funny to see Hogan do something like that. And then we go into the archives, and actually these next 3 segments do a lot with the video archive. We start off with a match between Captain Lou Albano and Arnold Skaaland. You may remember in one of my earlier reviews, the WWF's most unusual matches, there was a tag team match with the Magnificent Muraco and Lou Albano facing Jimmy Snuka and Arnold Skaaland. Now, of course, this match had no implication on the match that I had reviewed in the past 6 years after this match had taken place. But it's your typical 70s type of match where the heel has a weapon concealed and uses it a lot. Now, during the match, if you pay very close attention, as Arnold Skaaland has Lou Albano's weapon, he hits Lou Albano across the forehead, Albano does this. His thumb is taped up, got a blade in there, so he's making himself bleed. Lou Albano gets counted out of the ring. Arnold Skaaland is declared the winner. Then we go to a tag team title defense as Haystacks Calhoun teams up with Tony Garea to face Professor Toru Tanaka and Mr. Fuji. Now this is a 2 out of 3 falls match for the tag team titles. Now before the match could begin, Toru Tanaka was doing his traditional ceremonial salt. However, a couple of old ladies get involved as they clean the ring of the salt, and it's actually pretty funny. There's no guardrail at the time in Madison Square Garden, so they took their program and just wiped the salt off of the canvas. It's pretty funny. It's a very unique match considering we don't get to see a lot of Haystacks Calhoun on any of these tapes, but it's an okay match. First fall goes to Tanaka and Fuji after pinning Tony Garea. The second fall goes to Calhoun and Garea after Tanaka and Mr. Fuji both get disqualified. And the third and final fall, Haystacks Calhoun wins with the big splash on Tanaka, thus Calhoun and Garea retaining the tag team titles. Then we go to another match. Tony Atlas challenging Ken Patera for the Intercontinental title. Now, this is from the famous Shea Stadium show that was held in 1980. Now, this is very interesting for many reasons. One, Vince McMahon is the ring announcer. Yes, Vince McMahon is the ring announcer for this match. And another reason is Tony Atlas gets a shot at a singles title. It didn't happen a lot when he was in the WWF, but believe me, this was a rare opportunity. This is a match between two power men, and the end of the match is a little bit unusual. As both men are attempting to get back in the ring, Patera clotheslines Atlas over the top back into the ring. As the referee hits 10, Tony Atlas wins via countout. And after that, Patera wanted a little bit of Atlas, and Atlas wanted a little bit more of Patera, but Patera saved his energy for a rainy day. Then we come to highlights of the Slammy Awards. Yes, the very first Slammy Awards. And actually, what we get is more of never-before-seen footage of the Slammies than the actual show. As Mean Gene Okerlund goes around the city of Baltimore, doing that for my friend, city of Baltimore, asking people who's going to win the Slammies tonight. So he starts off with this black family. There's 6 people in the car, and it's just great. He goes to all these different people. There's even one point where he's trying to get this one man who's walking away, and he's like, Sir, who do you think's going to win the Slammies tonight? The man doesn't answer, doesn't even pay attention. And there's a guy out of the camera. He's like, James Brown! And Mean Gene's like, James Brown isn't nominated, sorry. And then there's another guy who's a police officer. Mean Gene asks him who he thinks is going to win the Slammies, and he's like, I'm a professional. I'm not going to tell you who I voted for. Besides, if I did, you wouldn't like it, Gene. So Mean Gene does this job of going all around, and he asks some of these questions like, aren't you glad that the Slammies are in Baltimore and not Los Angeles or New York or Atlantic City or Kansas City or Boston? The Slammies are in Baltimore. So then we get Jesse the Body Ventura. He interviews Mean Gene, saying how Mean Gene's going to perform Tutti Frutti during the Slammy Awards and how he's sweating a little bit. And then we get another interview where Jesse interviews Roddy Piper in a bathroom stall. I kid you not. of course, Roddy Piper is Roddy Piper. He's like, I'm in here because I don't want to take the women's steroids like Michael Jackson does, and I don't want to be like David Lee Roth and all that stuff. He just goes crazy. It's typical Piper, but it's great Piper. Then we see some highlights of the Slammies show, like Gorilla Monsoon making his entrance only to find out that his fly was open. Yeah, his fly was open. And then we get the award for the most ignominious. And Vince says there is only one nominee for that, and the winner is Nikolai Volkov. So, of course, Volkov thinks that he's won the Slammy for Best Artist of the Album, and then he's told what the word really means, and he's like, I should be second. It should be a tie for first place between Audiomatic and People. And then we get the other award that's mentioned in this package of the Best Personality on the Land of a Thousand Dances video, and it is Roddy Piper who wins. Piper comes out with a broom. He gets his trophy. The trophy breaks. And then he says that he was with Tina Turner. And so he throws the broom away. And he makes this speech. And then at the end, he says this one quote. And he's like, I just want to say, for the record, I do play Sun City, brother. And if you kids want to find out what that means, go to your local library to find out the whole Sun City thing. So now we get back to current action on this videotape as the British Bulldogs take on the Hart Foundation. This is another good match between the Bulldogs and the Hart Foundation. Unfortunately, not all of this match is shown. If you want to see the entire match, I do recommend picking up Greatest Alliances, the world's best tag teams that WWE put out many years ago on DVD. But this is a good match between the Harts and the Bulldogs, and it ends with something you wouldn't really expect out of the Bulldogs. With the referee's back turned behind him as he's getting Jim Anvil out of the ring, Dynamite Kid climbs up the top rope, hits a double axe handle on Bret Hart. He covers Bret Hart, gets the 3 count. Davey Boy was the legal man in the ring, and the Bulldogs beat the Hart Foundation. Then we go down to Australia. Aussie, Aussie, Aussie! Oi, oi, oi! For this tag team match, as the Moondogs, Rex and Spot, take on the Rougeau brothers of Jacques and Raymond. Now, this is a very interesting match, considering that this is a part of a tour in Australia that probably not a lot of people knew about back then, except for those that lived in Australia, and that this is filmed. Now, I believe, if I am correct, and somebody can correct me on the comments, when WWE went to Australia about 10 years ago, they did a show, and on the bonus features of the DVD, there are 3 matches from this particular tour of Australia in 1986 that are on the DVD. But if I'm wrong, somebody can correct me. Rougeau's end up getting the win with a nice roll-up, and this is the first time that we do see Jacques and Raymond on the WWF video cassettes, so we will see more of them in the future. And then we come to our finale, and we don't really see a lot of heel versus heel matches, but in this one, we get it. Brutus Beefcake and Greg Valentine defend the Tag Team Championship against Nikolai Volkov and the Iron Sheik. Now, for those of you that are a little bit younger, anytime a heel team faced Nikolai Volkov and the Iron Sheik, that other heel team would instantly be the fan favorites for this match. And that's what happened with Beefcake and Valentine. Now, there really aren't a lot of wrestling moves in this, but it is a little bit entertaining considering these 4 guys are heels, and they don't make any bones about it. They don't hold anything back. They just go at it. This match, unfortunately, does end in a double disqualification with Beefcake and Valentine retaining the tag team titles. So, what did I think of the best of the WWF Volume 7? This bit of an entertaining tape, I'm not going to lie. My expectations were a little bit low, but this tape really is good. The Terry Funk-Pedro Morales match, while it's not an all-time classic, is an entertaining match. Hogan and Savage is very good, especially this time around, and Savage bleeds a lot. The highlights of the Slammies, can't go any wrong with that. Pardon me. Also, the Bulldogs and the Hart Foundation. What can I say? There's not a bad Bulldog Hart Foundation match, I think, out there. If there is, I want somebody to tell me. Also, the Heels versus Heels tag match is pretty fun. Really, this is a fun videotape altogether. This is worth checking out if any of you are interested in buying this videotape. Well, that's going to do it for this edition of Wrestling Man's Retro Review. Keep your eye out in the near future for the next time you guys can pick the next edition of Wrestling Man's Retro Review. So long, everybody.